Cool. Okay. So I don't have to trim this up too much, but basically I'm just going to start with just general chat and then kind of what do you do? How did you get into it? What do you enjoy about it? In person versus online. Why do you prefer in person? I'm assuming you prefer in person. Tips for home workouts, tips for body image and like gaining weight and all that kind of stuff. Tips for eating in lockdown, and then the first thing you want to do after lockdown, and then future goals like CrossFit, whatever, if we have to.
Nice.
So there'll be a flow to it. I kind of got an idea, but we'll just kind of
If I
talk.
start rambling, just stop me.
Exactly. Okay, so usually there'd be like an intro or whatever. So then I will say, welcome.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me. That's what you said.
Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Yeah, welcome. Awesome. So did you get a workout in today?
I did actually.
What was today?
Today I did. What did I do today? Just wait, let me think.
Uh-oh.
What did I do today?
Every day's the same. Was it something CrossFit, conditioning? What'd you
I
do?
did remaining deadlifts with some dumbbells. I did some
Perfect.
burpees. I did some jump squats, some jumping lunges, things like that.
Conditioning stuff, like
Yeah, mainly conditioning stuff. I died a little bit. It was fun.
good. Awesome. Cool. So tell us a little bit about what you do. What does Mercedes do?
So I am a self-employed personal trainer. I own my own business. I work primarily out of One Family Fitness. Mostly one-on-one, a little bit of online on the side. Obviously, right now it's a little different than what it usually is, but yeah, like I encourage a lot of strength training. That's my priority with a lot of people, with everyone, everyone who comes to me. It's always starting with strength training, proper movement, and then just healthy habits, stuff like that. Yeah, I've been self-employed for 2 years, and I have my kinesiology degree from the U of M.
So why'd you want to get into training then?
Well, so when I was younger, I think like 15, 16, I had a lot of anxiety and uh, depression and things like that. And I actually used to self-harm myself. And one day I just got really mad and went outside and ran. And I was like, holy crap, I feel so much better. And then I kind of got into that instead. I started running. I started caring about what I was eating. And it was just kind of crazy how, like, when I would, if I was super overwhelmed and I'd go outside and I would run, nothing was structured, nothing was like periodized or anything like that. Back then it was just, I feel like crap, I'm going outside, I'm going to run. And then at the end of the run, I would feel better. So physical activity helped me. It kind of made me feel better. And as I grew into, like, I entered university, I was on the track and field team. I got injured a lot because of like just from running. And I met athletic therapists because I was injured. And I was like, how do you become an athletic therapist? And they were just like, oh, kinesiology. And I was like, what is that? And then they were like, oh, it's like exercise science, like movement. And I was like, that's a thing I didn't even know. So I was in university at the time, and then I applied to get in. And at the time I just ran, but it was like something that helped me. It gave me a focus when I was stressed out. And uh, when I was in kin, they have a gym at the U of M, the Active Living Center. And like when I entered kinesiology, I started using that facility, and they've got a lot of weights, they've got a lot of stuff. And so I started lifting weights, and properly in the beginning, probably not. I definitely tried to do a bodybuilding split, but it wasn't like a good kind of bodybuilding split. And uh, I ended up hiring a trainer for like 6-ish months, and she changed my life. Like, she taught me how to lift heavy. Essentially, I went from running all the time and constantly being injured. As great as it was for my brain, I needed something else because I couldn't do it all the time because it hurt. And she got me into lifting weights. And I remember my first session was with her was like bench press. And like I had benched something that I never thought I would have benched before, and I left and I was just like shaking with excitement, and it just felt so much like more. And like the next day and the next day, I didn't feel like I had to lift every day. It was like with running, I was like, I need to run every single day, because by the next day you wouldn't feel the same. When you started lifting, it would be like I would lift one day and I'd be good for at least 2 days. I could lift the next day, but it just lasted so much longer and you felt so much better. And back then I was a tiny little human, and then I slowly started to gain muscle, and I just got like stronger, and I felt better about myself and about what I could do in life. And I know that physical activity is good for everyone and can help everyone, and I knew it from the beginning, but I know it more even now. And the whole goal with what I'm doing is I'm just trying to spread it to other people, because a lot of people don't realize that it can actually make a difference. Like it saved my life in a way, and I know that it would really help everyone else in their lives in different ways, but mainly the same, like mental health and physical health and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
well, especially now, right?
Especially now, for sure, with everything that's going on. And unfortunately, it's the opposite that's happening. People are falling off instead of continuing to move and stuff.
Yeah, well, you, like many people, use exercise almost like medicine, right? So
Mhm.
um, you were medicating through self-harm, and then you moved to running, and then you found weight training and healthy living, and you got some balance and stuff like that. So um, other people eat or drink or smoke or whatever.
Yeah.
So exercise is important, especially right now. Yeah, for sure. So what aspects of your job then do you enjoy doing? Since a lot of people want to do things for certain reasons. Maybe they think it's cool, maybe they want to be famous or whatever, maybe they want to make a lot of money, but like, what do you get out of doing what you do, teaching people?
Totally. Yeah. No, so I used to not even want to be a trainer. I was like, I don't want to be a personal trainer." And I shadowed at a gym, and I just liked how they were helping people move. And my favorite thing is like I like too much. I don't even know where to start, but like one of them is, a brand new person coming in, they don't know what they're doing. They're super uncomfortable in the gym, and it's just like, "Hey, let me help you change that. Let me teach you how to move, teach you what you need to do, help you feel comfortable and connect with other people in the gym, help you feel like it's the right place to be in, like you want to be here, and it's a place where you can work on yourself." And like I'm all about working on yourself, and I think that no matter what, people can be better and people can be healthier, they can improve their current state, and like especially like just general population, we can always work on ourselves. And like the whole goal is to help them do that, is to use activity to do that. So like my favorite thing is example like teaching a hip hinge, like deadlift movement or any kind of hinging movement. Sometimes it takes a while for them to understand it, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere they'll get a eureka moment and they're like, "Oh my god, I got it." And they're excited. So that means they've invested in their own, like they've invested in themselves and all the work that they've been putting in up to date. They now know how to hinge, and it's just a big moment because before that there's some frustration, there's some, "Oh my god, I can't do it." And that just carries over into life. Like you think you're not going to be able to do something, and you know that you did this in the gym, you know that you can do something else in life, right? Like it transfers over super well. And just building confidence with people is really great. And just seeing if someone comes in and they feel like they're in a crappy mood, and they don't want to be there in the beginning, they get through their workout and they leave feeling so much better and feeling happier that they did it and that they were done. I have so many clients who go through that, where like sometimes getting them in is the hard part. Like just get in, just come, just show up. No, don't give me excuses. Just come in and you'll feel better. And then they work out and they're like, I'm like, "Do you feel better? Are you glad that you came?" And they're like, "I am. You're right. I don't know why I don't know why I resist." Like, and they just know, right? So just seeing that and just helping people, the goal is for the rest of their lives, right? Like I want them to be active for the rest of their life, because there's a lot of quick fixes and like all that kind of stuff right now, and it's like the 6-week shred, and it's like I don't want to promote that. That does not last. That's not a lasting thing, right? And like building lifelong habits that you can take for the rest, like that you can practice for the rest of your life, being active for the rest of your life. Like you don't want to do it for a couple months. You want to do it forever. And if someone comes in and they say, "I want to lose this much weight in 3 months and I just want to like this and that's it." And I'm just like, no, like that's not how I do things. Like you need to work on changing your mindset for this being a lifelong thing, right? So that kind of thing, changing that with people. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's a good atmosphere. I don't like desk jobs. I don't like sitting. In the gym, you're always on your feet. You're always moving. You're always talking to people. There's a big social aspect. And I like to be on my own a little bit, but I like more like talking to people and being in that social situation and connecting with people. So there's so many different sides of personal training and the health and fitness industry trying to change. Um, there's a lot of like not great things about the health and fitness industry, and I kind of want to like help change that. Like promote more of the long lasting things and less of the short fixes. And I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Changing people's mindsets, which leads to changing their behavior, which means they're going to do it for a lot longer and they're going to reap the benefits better than just, yeah, crash dieting and ending up worse off, or
Mhm.
doing like a bodybuilding split and then getting hurt, or,
Yeah.
doing drugs or whatever they got to do to get that quick fix. If you just create a bond with people and basically hold their hand for the first few years, there'll
It's
be a
about
lot.
building trust too.
Yeah, build trust. Yeah,
That's a
especially
good thing.
in themselves to make the right decision too, right?
Mhm.
Like, so that kind of bridges into the next question then, which would be kind of the difference between in person and online. I know we're really more focusing on online training right now because everybody's stuck at home.
Yeah.
But I prefer in person training. I feel like you can be more personable. There's more of a investment, like emotionally. You can get real truths out of people by talking to them in person. But like for you, kind of what do you see as the big differences between in person and online, and like which do you prefer? And kind of give us a little.
There is such a difference. It's actually insane. And this is the second time that like One Family Fitness and like myself, like this is the second time we've had to convert to online, right? And sure, this time around, the online training is going better than the first time around, but it is not the same. And every single one of my clients know it. I know it. We, it's like you just kind of get, how do I put it? I have some online clients that have only ever been online, and then I have some in-person clients. And my in-person clients have stuck around longer, have been working out for a longer period of time without falling off. They've been way more consistent. They don't miss their workouts. They move way better. They complain less of injuries. Like they get like they're online, you can't really help fix things like that. So in person, it's like their risk for injury is way lower. And they just like I have solid relationships with a lot of my in-person clients, and online it's so much harder to develop those relationships. It is not the same. The how do I say it? The not well consistency, but when people stick around for or client retention, like or yeah, just client retention, they will stick around so much longer if they're in person, in terms of like they see the value so much more that they're willing to invest in themselves for so much longer. And like they just yeah, they progress quicker. You when you build a relationship with someone and they don't want to work out, they will come in person, and you can change their mindset on that. And the more often you do that, the more often that they will come in and work out for themselves. Whereas like online, if someone misses a workout and you're like, no, work out, they're like, I will later, I will later. And they often can miss it. They do miss it. And just connecting with people, it's I'm an in-person person. Like I'm most definitely like I like being in people's spaces and even moving their bodies a little bit. To fix their form and like laughing with them. It's so different because there's so much more emotion involved, whereas online a lot of the emotion is taken out of it. And there's sure like personal training is professional, but there's a lot of personal, like you're very personal with your clients if you're a good personal training like that if you're a good personal trainer, that's going to be a part of it. So I just find that um, even converting my current clients who are in person to online because our gyms are closed, um, I'm trying so hard. It is a lot of work on my part and even on their part to try and connect, to try and have that same connection. Like we're trying to still have that. And the only way that we can do that is video call. And even then, it is not the same because I'm sitting here watching them move and I can only do and say so much. And to try and explain what they should be doing or even just connecting, like there's a lot more awkward pausing. There's a lot more like, oh, like what happened here, or oh, you glitched out here. And it's if I talk really fast and I ramble, and if the screen freezes for 2 seconds, they've missed a big chunk of things and they're like, what? And then I'm like, okay, let's try this again. It's just not the same. It's as close as we can get right now, but it's not the same. And I would advocate like everyone at some point in their life needs to see a trainer. I think that you can always learn something. And I think that it makes a big difference in how you understand exercise and movement and working out and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think anyone who's starting at the gym should be forced, or it should be mandatory that you do start with a trainer for a little while, uh,
mhm.
just because there's so much to learn. And if you get that information quick and you can become independent, you're going to have less risk of injury. There's more chance that you're going to adhere to it long term because you're going to see results quicker, because exercise and especially weight training is like one of the only things we can do that like you can literally get results in like a week, right? Like you can do something and next week be stronger, right? So
Mhm.
um
And
yeah,
the
no,
accountability, yeah, totally.
yeah.
I agree with that. Especially when you're a beginner, right? Beginners, when they come in, like you having structure right from the get-go as you progress, because you will progress so quick, and having a trainer see that and watch you progress, they can give you the adaptations that you need to keep going instead of giving you this beginner program and you being stuck there and then not progressing after 4 to 6 weeks because you are doing the exact same thing that you did that first week, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think people don't realize that like you should be making progress. Like if
Mhm.
you're new to the gym and you're in the first few years, like there's no reason you're not making progress every week. If you're not making progress, you're doing something wrong, right? So getting a trainer, like it's worth the investment. Like people spend money on much more frivolous things, like
Yeah.
right. And it's not that big of an expense. It's
Mhm.
definitely worth the effort. And that's why we're pushing for funding for that, right? Like things
Yeah.
like grants, like we'd like a fitness grant in Manitoba where people could, get $500 back if they, hire a trainer, right? Like
Yeah.
that would be
Would like
huge, right?
totally. That would be amazing, and I think that would make a big difference with a lot of people too, because it's not even covered, under any kind of insurance right now, and, like, that's a big I find, like, money is a big thing because people don't understand the value, they just think, "Whoa, that's" like, half of the people who go to see massage therapists and chiros, they only go because it's covered.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Whereas, like, personal training isn't covered. Well, what do you think is going to last longer? What do you think is going to benefit you for the rest of your life? Like 3 months with a trainer or 3 months of some adjustments? And, like, that's a big that's, like, a big factor there, like, I know there are some reasons as to why we're not covered, but I think that that needs to change too, right?
Yeah, it will change, I think, in the future. There's some
Mhm.
things we'll work on to unify the industry and get some regulation and stuff, but it's tough because there's so many gyms out there. In order for this to become a reality, like a large number of them won't be allowed to be gyms because people aren't qualified to run them, right? Like, so like that's the tough part about that. But
I think
yeah,
if
I
you really
definitely
wanna
agree.
run a gym, you should be willing to get whatever qualifications that you need to get to run that gym, right? And if you're not going to, then what does that say? Um, what does that speak to in terms of the gym owner that you are, right? If you're not willing to
Yeah.
invest.
Well,
Yeah,
even and it doesn't have to be just the owner, because most gyms are going to be owned by corporations, right? Not even
that's
people.
true.
Like there's not one person that owns all the 300 good lives or whatever, right?
That's
Like,
true.
but it's about who's working in these places, what qualifications do they have? Is it a universal service, right? Is this something,
Mhm.
if you go into any gym, are you going to get the same prescription, the same service, the same program if you gave them the same set of criteria? So if I walked into our gym versus a local franchise versus a large corporate chain, and I said, I'm this age, I have this injury and I want to do this, each one of them would give me a different prescription. Whereas if I walked into a massage therapy clinic and I said I had a sore shoulder, they're all probably going to do similar things, right? So
Yeah.
there's no universal service that we offer that a doctor could be like, okay, here's your thing, go to this service, use it, and then submit that to insurance. And that's why we're not covered under insurance.
Mhm.
And until there's universal direction for like what's available, um, we're not going to see that anytime
One
soon.
day, hopefully.
Well, and yeah, like one family's working on something that will hopefully do that, but it won't be across all gyms. It'll
Mhm.
be only certain gyms.
Yeah.
So with the home workouts, then I know it's a challenge for you and for your clients and stuff, but what kind of things have you learned? What kind of tips have you kind of narrowed in on in terms of like getting people to adhere to it, making the best of the equipment they have, all that kind of stuff? Like, what would you say to people who maybe have excuses or kind of apprehensions about training at home?
So there's definitely a lot. I've definitely heard a lot. A big thing. There's a few things that I say to everybody. First off, we don't have a choice right now. So everything's closed. You can't go in a gym. So now we just have to accept it. We have to move on and we have to just get on with it. Let's make a plan. Let's do this. Okay. So there's no such thing as a gym right now. We're working with what you have. I always recommend, okay, if you can, sure, buy one set of dumbbells, just buy something so you have something, or a set of bands. You can do body weight. So if they're not willing, then we do body weight stuff, but it's just like get something for yourself. I know one family fitness rented out a bunch of equipment, and my clients just jumped on that real quick, which was pretty cool because they see the value. Another thing is, it's not the same. Like the environment, everything else, it's not the same. It's hard to get motivated, especially if you're a parent who uh, has 1 to 3 children at home or more, and you have to take care of them as well, and you're working from home. It's really hard to get into the mindset of, okay, now it's time to work out, because it's not what you're used to. It's a completely different change of routine. So what I've pretty much told my clients are, okay, keep your routine that you had before. If you work out in the mornings at 6 a.m., keep working out in the mornings at 6 a.m. If you work out in the evenings, keep working out in the evenings. Whatever days of the week that you are working out, keep doing that. Stick to your routine. Whatever split that you are doing, you will most likely, I'm pretty sure everybody has the exact same split that they were doing before. We're keeping as much routine as you can with it. Blast the music, develop something, put on your gym shoes, start your warm up. By the time you're done your warm up, your mindset will be, okay, workout time. Make it clear with your husband or your roommate or your children or whoever else is in the house that this is your time to work out, to minimize as much disruptions as you can. You still might get interrupted because that's usually what happens when you're a parent, right? Like, and most of my clients are parents. But that kind of thing, like get into the routine and start. Make it fun. So I've added a lot of, like, near the end, they have some sort of sweaty thing that'll make them feel kind of good, get their heart rate up. And then just commit to it, keep going. And I'm going to say a lot of them have missed some days, but I'm trying to focus on overall consistency. Like, are you missing 3 weeks in a row? No, you're missing one workout out of your whole week. That's way better than what it could be, right? And that's way better than the last time things closed. So focusing on the positives and being like, you can do this. It's just, this is your time that you can do something for you. Changing your goals up, you might not lose weight, you might not gain strength, you might not build a bunch of muscle, but just focus on maintaining what you can and make the main goal just movement for you to keep going, for you to not stop, because future you is going to thank you, right? Like, if you go, when gyms open up again, because they will eventually, who knows when, but they will, um, you're going to regret not doing anything at all. Like, you want to just do what you can, right? Like, it's not going to be perfect every single week. I'm sure the week of Christmas, everyone's just going to be like, meh, because that's what happens. But that's okay, because the next week and the week before, and there's all the other weeks that you can work out. It's not the end. It's not the end. Like, don't stop and just give up on yourself. That's a big one. In terms of like workout equipment, it's been fun to get creative. Everyone has a different implement of some sort. Some people have a barbell, some people have a whole home gym, some people just have body weight, just bands, 5-pound dumbbells. So there's a lot of like holding, pausing in the bottom of a squat, using eccentric contractions. So slowly lowering weight, focusing on squeezing muscle, um, body weight stuff till doing as many reps as you can. Little mini challenges. I have a Facebook group right now with all my clients, to try and keep the vibe of One Family Fitness and that connection that we don't get right now. And so I'll post like a challenge in there, and they all have to put their time in there. So 50 burpees for time, and then they just put their time in. And what's been nice is they actually, it's working because they're commenting on each other's comments and they're interacting with one another. So trying to keep that going as well. That has been a big thing, because I always use the Sunday morning or the Sunday all day example. On Sundays, I'm the only trainer in the gym usually, and I'll be training clients, and I look around and there's other like 5 other clients of mine that are working out on their own. So I always call like Sundays are like my days and mine and my clients' days, or we call it like power hour, where it's like everybody is connecting with one another. All of my clients love each other. Like we're all supportive. Someone PRs a deadlift and everyone's clapping and yelling in the gym. Like that's an exciting moment. And like it's just super cool to see that. And so like trying to encourage that vibe still so people keep going. That's been paying off. People are a lot more consistent. Even on bad days, they comment that they're having a bad day, and other people just like jump in there before I get a chance, and they're like, "You can do it!" Like it's just really nice to see that. So that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else we've done. I FaceTime a lot of my clients who just have a hard time with accountability. If they miss their workouts a lot, I'm like, okay, let's start FaceTime more often and get you in. And if I have to sit here on my computer and watch you work out, I will do that. So I've been doing that with a couple of them, because the accountability is just a really hard thing for them right now. And sometimes it's easier to be accountable to someone else than it is for yourself. I don't know why. I'm the same way. You're just more likely to do it because you know someone else is watching you, or you know that they're expecting you to do it. So you don't want to let them down. And I'll use it. I'll use whatever I can right now. Like, no, don't let me down. Work out. And that's kind of worked for them, because then after they're like, oh, I'm glad I worked out. So I don't know, things like that. You're muted.
Awesome. Yes. Perfect. That's a lot of information, but
Yeah, rambles.
no, that's great. That's awesome. So lots of good tips there. What about in terms of the inevitable change in our body image? And it, the thing is, it doesn't actually have to be real for people to notice changes. I think like just being depressed, just being isolated, we tend to be like hyper focused on the things we don't like about ourselves. So we could like develop a negative body image. Um, Saying that with my clients, I kind of just stressed, we're going through a pandemic here. Like, shit, like it could be a lot worse. So at least we're all not sick, right? Most of us are at
Yeah.
least middle class. Like we can afford a place to live, we can afford food, but like in terms of workouts, like let's just try to maintain, let's get out of this lockdown without, gaining too much weight. And if we do, well, we'll deal with that. But just maintaining our gains, like so that coming back isn't as hard,
Mhm.
all that kind of stuff. But when talking to your clients, what kind of things do you kind of mention in terms of like body image and like mental health in that
Yeah.
aspect?
Well, exactly what you had said. Because personally, like I deal with the same thing, and so when clients to come to me saying that, like I can really empathize, because it's like, yeah, it's. I saw this picture really a while back, and it was someone the exact same, like they were the same weight and they looked the same, but it was how they were feeling that day, and so it was like one day it was like, oh my god, I feel great and I look great, and the next day it was like, man, I'm so bloated and I whatever, and they're the like they look identical, but it was just how your brain, if you feel like crap, you're going to like crap on yourself. You're going to be like, "Oh my god, my body sucks. My everything sucks." And like I do that all the time, where I'm just like, if I'm having a bad day, one of the first things that I do is I bash my body. The difference is like I'll bash my body, and then I'll immediately try and come up with something else. So that's what I've kind of been telling my clients to do recently is, first off, be nice to yourself. Like it's important. You only have one body, And just think about where you were a year ago versus where you are now is different, right? And um, you've progressed, like all of them have progressed a lot. So yeah, they've progressed a lot. Um, the thing is, you've been consistent for, 1 year, 2 years. Stopping or having something like this happen, if you're still working out and if you're still like being semi consistent, you're not going to lose it all in a couple weeks. You're not, that's not how this works. Like consistency overall. And that's something that I've preached since the beginning. Um, will your body change? Maybe. Like, and you're right. Like, oftentimes it's not actually as big of a change as we think, but if it's changed slightly, um, we blow it into out of proportion. Like, you're not 40 pounds over, like heavier than you were before, and that's a big difference. But like, okay, 5 pounds, big whoop. 10 pounds, okay, you can fix that if that's something that you want to fix later. Like, the whole goal right now is to just be consistent and move, focus on the mental health side of things, focus on how you're feeling instead of how you're looking. And when gyms open up again, if looks are something that you want to work towards again, I'm not against that, because when you look good, you feel good. That's a thing. Like, that it does help. There is such a thing as going overboard and focusing too much on how you look and having that affect how you feel. But like, focus on how you feel right now and focus on the habits that you need to keep up to make sure that you're feeling good, to make sure that you can still feel okay amidst everything that's going on right now, because there's a lot that's going on. And, even if that's, what are you going to do today to make today a really good day? Do you want to move? Do you want to paint? Do you want to read a book? Like, what do you want to do? Right. And just do you want to go for a walk outside in the sun? Like, do that. Do something that is going to make you feel good and focus on enjoying it. Because, like, right now, that's what you need to do with everything that's going on. There's so much that you can't control. So focus on what you can control. Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah. And the big thing I've noticed is I really can't be pushing anymore. Like pre-COVID, I could be really pushy, especially like you signed up for this, like get your workouts in. Like you said, 5 days a week, do 5 days a week. What are you doing on the other 2 days a week? Like, are you tracking your food? Like all this kind of stuff. But right now I find that the easiest way to get somebody to like go MIA is to just like push really hard.
Yeah.
You have to kind of instead like ask them what they're willing to do. Like, okay, you've given me 10 excuses why you can't do this. So what are you willing to do right now? Right? Like, let's start with
Yes.
that, because yeah, you're right. Like it's different. It's a different time, and we're learning a lot about people. Like there was the way we act when things are normal, and then there was the way we act in crisis. And a lot of us have different capacities for stress. Like I'm someone who excels under pressure. So like in the middle of a pandemic, I'm like still doing a whole bunch of stuff and like still hyper focused on all these different tasks. But I have clients who I respect as being very, powerful people, very accomplished, have been able to build massive careers, like make money, all this kind of stuff. I can't get them to work out, like no matter how hard I try. And it's because like, maybe they got, somebody's got a baby on the way, or somebody's got in court for their job, or like all this kind of stuff. Like I'm getting all these different things where these people are just so stressed and they have so much going on right now that like the last thing they want to do is listen to me tell them, oh, just do this, just give me half an hour. And it's like, no, I don't have half an hour. Right. So that I have to be like, okay, tell me what you can do then. Right. Because like I know in a month or 2 months or whenever this is done, you're going to be beating yourself up that you didn't do everything. So like, just tell me what you can do right now. Right.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's true. I've kind of witnessed the same thing happen where like different situations, but high stress situations or environments that my clients have been put in, and me pushing. Whereas like before I was almost too busy training people one-on-one that I wasn't noticing some people were missing their workouts. And now I'm watching because I want people to be on top. And I'm like, you missed this entire week. Like, what's going on? Like, are you gonna work out today? Maybe. No, that should be a yes. And then I just realized I did that for like 2 weeks, and I realized, you know what? These people are just going through a lot right now. And I'm like, working out will be there when you're ready. but what can you do now? Like, what are the things that you can do now? So like one of my clients was working out 4 days a week. So we dropped down to 3 and 2 days on the weekend and 1 day during the week because her week is so busy that she just can't. And so then, okay, let's do that. My other client is like, doing way smaller, like 15 minutes a day of something just so that she's moving because that's all she has right now. And it's okay if that's what you can do right now, let's work with it. And then when things get better, you tell me, and like continuing to check in on them, but not being like, why aren't you doing your workout? You got this, you can do it, you can do it. um you don't get, it's not, oh yeah, you're right, I can do it, I'm gonna do it. It's no, you don't understand my situation. But it's like, I get it, right? Like there are times like I had to isolate for 2 weeks because my roommate had gotten COVID, and I I think I missed 2 of my workouts total, but I remember at 11:30 at night, workouts aren't the things that I miss. So I feel like that's something that I have a hard time understanding when people miss workouts because that's a top list priority. But I also know that not everyone else is going to be like that, right? Um, but I remember it was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, I'm not gonna feel better. I'm not gonna feel any better tomorrow if I don't work out. So I just did it, and I felt better. I was tired, but I felt better, right? Like, and so I think that I take that experience and I try to give that to people. And I'm like, you will feel better. And some people are just like, no. And I'm like, that's okay. You know what? Whenever you're ready, you let me know. Right. And sometimes you just have to respect that. And within 3 days, they contact you and they're like, okay, I need to get my shit together. And you're like, great, let's do it. Like, because they realize, oh, yeah, I have been putting it off. And it's kind of that pushback with everything. It's like, if you push someone to do something a lot, eventually they'll back off because it's not them wanting to do it anymore. You're giving them an external motivation instead of them being internally motivated. And that really shifts like how consistent they're going to be too, because they no longer are doing it for themselves. So that is a factor.
Yep, yep, that's true. So are you going to be able to progress during lockdown here? Still training towards your goals for CrossFit and competing one day and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I started running outside, so that was really cool. I think I'm definitely keeping my cardio up. That's not going down. Um, but and like more body weight stuff. I do know that like food wise is probably the biggest struggle for me at the moment because when I get stressed out, especially in the evenings, I tend to go to food, or if I want to avoid things like that's, so then just being aware of that and just being like, hey, you don't need to do what happened like the first round, which I definitely was eating so much and I didn't even realize. This time around, I'm tracking. So last time I was like, I'm not going to track during this for like 2 weeks, and I had gained so much weight, like 8 pounds within 2 weeks, and I was just like, this is the most I've ever gained within a short period of time. I've never done this before. And I was just like, no, we can't do this anymore. And I even started losing weight during like quarantine back in like July, because I was like, okay, we need to change this because you're not going to like I was not impressed with myself. I was like, we like this is not good. This is not healthy for you. And so this time around, it's like I'm still tracking most days, or I'm trying to, and I'm just trying to focus on like I don't have cookies in my house. I don't have like trigger style foods. Um, and like I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing because if I just sit on my butt and do nothing and eat all the food, that's going to be the thing that will make it really hard for me to get back into things when gyms open and stuff like that. But um right now I'm just, the big thing is focusing on what I can control. So like what is that? The workouts and food, and like trying to manage my stress, like journaling, reading. Okay, like, hey Elena, let's watch a Netflix movie. Hey Elena, let's go on a hike outside. Like she's my roommate. She's like my little outlet. I'm like, hey, help me be motivated to do things, and we kind of help each other, which is good. And yeah, just finding little things, little projects like building a website, doing things like that. In terms of CrossFit, like it's going to be there. Like I only started training like I'd say seriously about a year ago. So, and I only started like I started with a new coach in June. Okay, cool. Like I've made so much progress even if this is closed for like 3 or 4 months, like if gyms are closed for that long, I really hope they're not going to be. But like I don't like I think that if when gyms open up again, I wouldn't lose out on fitness. Do you know what I mean? Like I would still have some baseline of some sort that wouldn't be gone because working out is not my issue. I can always get my workouts in some way. Some days I'm unmotivated, but I'll still do them. It's all the other things, right? Like managing your stress, not going crazy with everything else, managing the food. Yeah, I feel like I'm excited for gyms to open up again because there's supposed to be a competition coming and it's not like it's on pause and on hold right now. And it was my first like RX competition, which is like it's the like hardest division in a local competition. And I'm like, oh, I was so close to doing it. And so now it's just like everything's on pause. So staying motivated, it's like I'm motivated because I know that at the end of the day, this will end eventually. And and I want to be in as best of a shape as I can be for when it does end so that I can keep training full force and doing the things that I need to do in order to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Same with myself. It's just, competition will always be there. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of taking it like I'll just maintain, and if I'm in a little better shape when I come out of this, I'll be happy. But like you mentioned, the trigger foods, keeping those out of the house, especially around this time of year, like
Yeah.
I'm not going to get any goodies from my clients. Like Christmas is like
Yeah.
one of the times of the year where like as a trainer you get inundated with like gifts like
All
junk
freaking.
food and wine and gift certificates and stuff. So we won't get any of that this year, which is fine by me. And then, less baking in the house and stuff, because not that any of that stuff's inherently bad, but I acknowledge that my activity level is lower because I go from having a very active job, standing all day and moving around and exercising with people, to being at home most of the time. So, we have
Yeah.
to admit that to ourselves and then change things accordingly. So no, I definitely get that. And I appreciate that as well. And yeah, hopefully this doesn't last long, but they just again extended it today till January 8th,
Mm-hmm.
um, which, that's a month away. And then who knows, is it a phased reopening? It's not like they're just going to let the flood hatch open up come January 8th, right? Are they going to slowly allow certain small things to open and leave gyms last again? So is it going to be by February? Like, who knows, right? So um, we also have to think like, are people going to sneak out and get together during Christmas time? And if so,
Yeah.
are we going to have a big
Increase
spike? You
numbers.
know, numbers going to go up in the new year again, and then
And everyone else is going to be at fault again.
yeah. So it's just a nasty,
And
a nasty mix of things to be in right now. But at least we can do like you said, focus on what you're able to do in terms of movement and your eating and stuff, and just find other distractions. So what is one of the first things you want to do once we get out of lockdown here?
oh, I haven't even thought about it. Oh my God. Most definitely like work out, but I honestly like I just want to like see everybody. I just want to see everyone, whether that's like it's not even like realistically when gyms do open, I know that we won't be able to do it, but what would be absolutely amazing is if we just had another One Family Fitness potluck again, because it's been over a year since that's happened.
Yeah.
And like we had such a good time every year, and just like the social aspect of that and just having everybody there like that is like I miss that a lot. So that would be super cool because I like, when we open up again, it won't be mass gatherings right away.
Yeah.
But something like that, like just hanging out with a bunch of friends and just like being important to me.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's what people don't realize is when the lockdown ends, things are not anywhere near back to normal, right? We probably got another, 6 months at least of, the physical distancing, the masks, the occupancy
Mhm.
restrictions, like all that kind of stuff, because they still got to roll this vaccine out and it's still got to be administered. And then it takes 2 months to work after the second dose, which is like how many people are going to get the second
Yeah.
dose. And So it's just a nightmare,
It's
right?
true.
But at least
We're not living in the same worlds that we were living in a year ago. It's very different now.
that's exactly it, right? So just kind of got to adapt and do what we can and focus on the things we can control. So
Mhm.
awesome. Any final words for anyone listening? Anything you want to let people know? Kind of, people that might be struggling out there, you know, what would you say?
Just think about, well, you could even put it into the perspective of, if gyms were to open in a week from now, would you be sitting on your butt doing nothing, waiting for them to open? Right? Like, would you be like, future you is current you to keep going, right? Whether that's in gyms, whether that's, just living, whether that's taking care of yourself, taking care of your kids, like those kinds of things. Like, what you're doing right now is going to determine your future. So focus on the things that you can control right now and enjoy your life as best as you can, right? Like, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of negativity that you can focus on. There's a lot of stress that you can focus on, and just taking time and just being like, these are the things that I enjoy, so I'm going to do them, right? And just make sure that you're living every moment, because you don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen, like, with people that you care about. Like, you just have to, this should be an example. Like, life is not, you're not going to live forever, right? And, like, when you're sitting in a rocking chair at the ripe old age of 80, 90, 110, and you're looking back on your life, you don't want to be like during the pandemic, like, what did you do, right? Yeah, sure. You be depressed and, like, do nothing? Sure. But wouldn't you rather have, like, really awesome memories that you could have created? Like, I'm gonna be honest, my 25th birthday was one of my, I'm gonna cry, favorite birthdays ever, because I went on a hike with Elena, my roommate, and a friend, and it was amazing. And then came home, and I had, like, a bunch of my clients and friends stop by, and, like, they sang me happy birthday, and, from a distance, and, like, they dropped off things, and, like, they were just super amazing, and I felt so loved, and I'm never going to forget that. Like, and what? Oh, everything was closed and everything was shut down for my birthday. But I'm never going to forget that, because they made me feel so loved and cared about, right? So focusing on that, like creating good memories right now, because they matter, right? Instead of focusing on, everything that's going on in the world and how terrible it is and how stressed out you are. So that's my advice.
Yeah, no, it's great advice. And yeah, definitely what I would suggest too, like, there's no guarantee, nothing's guaranteed. Like, any of us could die tonight, right now, tomorrow, right? Like, and I think that this pandemic, for so many people, they kind of just think their life is on hold, like they're just, everything's paused right now, and they're just kind of wasting this time, right?
Yeah,
But it's
they're
going to
just
go
waiting
by,
to do
right? They're just
nothing.
waiting
Yeah.
for something. Like, you can't just wait for something to happen. You have to make the best of this time and just
Mhm.
find other ways to fill it. Because yeah, it's going to fly by, even though it feels like it's been the longest year in history. But it's going to fly by, and we're going to sit back and I know I think in the first lockdown, I'm like, shit, I wasted so much time. Like, I could have
Yeah,
been more productive. And this time around,
I felt the same way. Yeah.
I'm definitely a lot more productive. I'm getting a lot more done. I'm supporting more people, I'm focusing more on myself, getting my health in order and stuff. So yeah, that's definitely good advice for people. So I think we'll kind of leave it at that. Where can people find you if they want to check you out on social media and stuff?
So I have, Instagram is my main thing. That's where I do most of my stuff, and it's Mercedes_fitness. I also have on Facebook, it's Mercedes Weinberg Personal Training. If you're, or personal trainer, well, I don't remember. If you're like the Facebook type of person, and that's pretty much it. On Instagram, I have a link to my website that's in the works. Some errors happened recently that I'm working through, but yeah, that's it. I don't have a Twitter account because I don't actually know how to use it. That's cool. I'm 25 and can't technology, but yeah,
It's for
that's
old
it.
people. It's all good. Perfect. Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for the chat today. And hopefully everybody finds it informative gives them something to do during lockdown, throw a podcast
sure.
on and listen to smart people ramble, right?
Yep, for
Awesome.
sure. Okay, thanks, Dino.